Hey folks, it's me, Christiana Gaudet. It's Friday. It is Friday, the 17th of January. I am here live on Facebook with some tarot tips based on the blog post I just published, and we'll do some readings as well. If you're watching an archive, thank you so much for being here. So before we get started, let me just go through some upcoming events. So this Sunday will be my first live webinar on Facebook, on my Facebook channel. If you don't subscribe, it's Christiana Gaudet. Oh, I'm sorry, not on Facebook, on YouTube, on YouTube. So if you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, it is Christiana Gaudet right on YouTube. Good morning, Jeannie. It's nice to see you here. Glad you're here. My timing for this topic is right on. Tell me why. Tell me why. So, this Sunday, it is 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I tried to do it so that wherever you are in the world, it's not going to be at a really weird time for you. On my YouTube channel, we're doing the 4 elements and the major arcana. Hey, Lynn, good to see you. I'm glad you're coming to the astrology class here in my office this Sunday. And today is the last day to sign up for that. If you'd like to do Astrology Basics with Mary Ellen Collin, you need to sign up today. Leisha, glad you're here. So, let's see what else before we get going. Of course, I do have some availability for readings and mentorship. If you want to reach out to me, we can work by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, or here in my Palm City office. Rogerio, glad you're here. Okay, so I wanted to talk, Jeannie says I have a client reading to do today by email, and her topic is delicate. I'm honored she wants tarot guidance. Cool, cool. Karen, glad you're here. So if you haven't had a chance to read my blog post that I just published today, hey, Billy, glad you're here, and you are reminding me that I will be in the Tampa Bay area next weekend, Friday through Monday. We are doing our meetup on Sunday afternoon, and I am available for readings and more mentorship by house call, house parties, or at my private location in Wesley Chapel during that time. So if anyone wants to reach out for that, I'd be happy to see you. Okay, so if you haven't had a chance to read my blog post, it is available on my website, christianagaudet.com. And it's about reading tarot out of order. Hey, Karen, nice to see you, sneaking in to hang out with us at work. So the idea is this. There are so many techniques for reading tarot. And I think that the more techniques we know, even if you have your favorite techniques, the more techniques we know, the more we have in our wheelhouse, the more we have available to us, the more information we can get. In fact, one of the things I say in the blog post is what you want to do is avoid using the word always when talking about your tarot practice. As soon as you catch yourself saying, I always see this card this way, or I always use this spread or interpret this spread this way with this technique, you want to back off. Yes, of course, we have our favorites. We have our go-tos, and that's fine. But we want to be open to all of the possibilities because we recognize, first of all, that the tarot reading experience is intuitive from beginning to end. It's not just intuitive in how we connect with our client or how we connect with spirit or what we see in the cards in the moment. It's intuitive having to do with the way we ask questions, with the spreads we choose to use or the techniques we choose to use, or the way we interpret the cards, or the way we feel spirit speaking through the reading. It's intuitive in all of those ways, and we want to be open to that. The more skills we have, the more we have in our wheelhouse, the more intuition can work. I always, there's an always, but in this case, I'm going to use this always. I always rail against the tarotists who sort of say, well, I'm intuitive, so that means I don't have to study. I think the more we know, the more our intuition can work. Okay, so first point, avoid the alwayses in tarot. Allow a card to speak in a new way in a reading. Allow yourself to be inspired to use a new technique, to invent a new technique right on the fly, to learn a new technique. And the technique that I want to talk about today has to do with reading groups of cards. And Elise, what do you have to say about this? Yes, also each client is unique. Yeah, absolutely. And each question, each moment in time that the question is asked is different. Yes, yes, yes. And it's true, there are similarities. But I think this is one of the things I love about professional tarot, is that it really is something different every day. And we do, as Elise says, we do need to honor the uniqueness. Hey, Liz, thanks for being here. So, what I was talking about in this blog post is the concept of when we read a group of cards that are non-positioned. So say you might just pull 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, and read them as a group. Very often we tend to do that in a linear fashion, reading them in the order that we pulled them, and maybe having that be like a timeline, like a past, present, future, or having that be like a situation, action, or obstacle, and outcome. So again, sort of this linear thing. And that is a great technique, and we all need to know how to do that. But I discovered recently that if you ask a group of tarotists to read a group of cards like that in a way other than linear, a lot of times people don't know what to do with that. So go ahead and chat in for me. If you ever just read a group of cards, non-position spread, if you will, in a way that is not linear, how do you do it? And let me share some suggestions about how to do that, and then we can try that technique and do some readings. So go ahead and share your ideas about this. One of the things I like to do is find similar themes. Are the cards in your group similar? Are they a few of them similar, but one sticks out? If we see similarity, hey Linda, nice to see you here. If you see similarities, then that's easy. That's sort of your overarching theme. If you see similarities, but one sticks out, then you have to say, okay, well, this is the energy, but then we have this issue or this problem. If you see directly opposed cards that really oppose each other, that are opposites to each other, if you will, well, you may have just struck on a conflict that needs to be discussed. Linda says, that's how I do it. I use combos and use base cards. So talk to us about that. What's a base card? Jeannie says, I'm a linear reader, but if there's a particular card that pulls me, I'll relate it to the other cards. So that's a good one to find in the group. Say you pull a few cards and you find in the group which is the card that pulls you. It's not necessarily going to be the first, the last, or the middle. Which is the card that pulls you? Maybe it's the major. Maybe it's just the card that hits you at that time. Linda says read them in pairs and on their own. Elise says, I think it's a challenge to get out of the linear mode. Yeah, and I mean, the linear thing is good. We all need to be able to do that. I'm not saying don't do that, but I am saying in addition to, as Elise says, get out of that mode and find other ways to do it. So there are some fun exercises you can do there. If you happen to have your deck, go ahead and pull, say, 3 cards. And Linda says from the bottom of the shuffle deck, that's her base card. That's fun. I like that. So say you just pull 3 cards. Okay. So what did I pull? I've got the Queen of Cups, the 4 of Swords, and the 10 of Swords. So you could look at that and say, well, which card pulls me the most? And maybe it would be the Queen, because she's like the happiest card there. Katie says, juicy. Hey, good. I'm glad you like it. Elise says, I look for majors to center the reading. Maybe it's the 10 of Swords. Sometimes I like to go with the most hard-hitting card. And when reading for ourselves, we tend to dread those cards. But I have to tell you, in a way, those heavy hitters are helpful in a reading because you got something meaty to deal with right there. So suppose I'm going to say that the 10 of Swords is the big card, and the other two would relate to that. Then I might say, okay, obviously we got some stuff going on here, some heavy stuff on the mind, what to do with it. With the Queen of Cups, we process it emotionally. With the Four of Swords, we take a rest, we meditate in order to heal that. So that would be a way to play with that. Another thing you can do, again, is look for these common themes. And here there is a common theme. I mean, we have 2 swords, so we really have to look at all that mental Aries stuff. But there are 2 swords that, in a way, like the 10 of Swords really has an emotional thing. You have an emotional response to that card. And of course, the Queen of Cups is very emotional. But then that 4 of Swords may come in to say, oh, no, 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 no. Do not over-emote on this. Do not over-ruminate. So you see, if you get out of the linear, you can really play with the cards in a different way. So that's an exercise for you to play with. So I thought it would be fun. I have just a few minutes. I will be happy to do a few readings. And typically this is, like in a question and answer session, this is my reading process. I pull a few cards. Maybe I start with 1 card, and if 1 card answers it, great. If not, I'll pull some more. And I probably will not read them in a linear fashion. And so typically, I don't share my process when I'm doing this. I just try to do it as quickly as possible. But maybe today, what I will do, as I am working with my Hanson Roberts deck today, love this deck, maybe I'll try to share my process with you so you can see how it goes. So if you have a question about your life, or if you have some comments about this process, go ahead and chat it in. I'll answer a few questions. And again, I would love to hear a little bit about your group of cards reading process that is nonlinear. And let me share with you another nonlinear technique, and that is simply to look at the images. How are the images working with each other? How are the colors working with each other? How are the characters working with each other? And that's something you can play with as well. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, from Karen. How will the integration of my new cat go today? Okay, let's take a look. Ooh. Okay, so I started with 1 card, which was the 4 of Swords, which suggests you really want to take it slowly. If there are other animals, you want to make sure the new cat has its own space. And then we look and we see a few other cards here. And there's more air here than anything else. The Lovers is an air card. We've got the Queen of Swords and the 4 of Swords, and 1 earth card. So a lot of air and some earth. So be smart about the way you do this. And with that 3 of Pentacles, make sure we're acquainted with the food bowl, the litter dish. Now the other way around. The food bowl, the litter box, that's what I'm looking for. Make sure you're acquainting, with all of that. And with all this air, I really translate air to mean space. To give the cat a lot of space, a lot of time to get used to things. But ultimately with the Lovers here, I think, one of my key words for the Lovers is integration. And so I think it will go well. Okay, very good. Okay, for Katie, Cindy says, hello, help. I just saw you pop in. I will get to you. If you want to phrase a question there, you absolutely can. And I've got a lot of things coming in, so I will get to all of you. Good morning. I see a good morning, Jerry. Good morning, Jerry. Okay, next question is for Katie. Momentum of business. How's business going? Let's try this same technique. Oh, one card, first card up, Magician. You have the tools, the skills, the abilities to do what you need to do. The Magician, of course, is a card of communication belonging to Mercury, saying you've got to be good at advertising. You've got to be good at getting the word out. So, when we talk about momentum, the Magician is a card of initiation. So there's a lot you have to do to get it going, but the power is all there. So that was an example of, hey, one card is all you need. Okay. For Elise, my question is, how do I support my artistic ventures? Okay, let's try the same technique. And again, you can see what I'm doing here that is different from what I usually do when I do these kinds of readings is I'm trying to share a little bit of my technique with you in hopes that you might pick up some pointers for your own readings. And Katie says this message is chasing me. Oh, so often it will happen that way. Okay, Elise, how do I support my artistic ventures? Okay. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Strongly and strenuously, my friend. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I pulled 6 cards here. And they're all minor arcana cards. The first card out was the 5 of Wands, which basically said, oh, you better pull some more cards because there's some conflict. Now, of course, we're talking about artistic ventures. The 5 of Wands, or rods as it's called in this deck, of course, that's fire. Wands is fire. Fire is artistic. That's good, but there's a lot of conflict, Elise. There's a lot pulling on your time and pulling on your energy. And we also here have the 7 of Wands, which speaks to that even more. So how do you support yourself? You must carve out time. You must carve out energy. You must be defensive of your process. Then we see another 5. We have 2 5s here together, and you can see how I'm shuffling these around. I'm not reading them in order. I'm putting them together as they make sense. We see 2 5s, 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Wands. It may be that you feel like you don't have the resources, the time, money, energy, space to do the work you need to do. And it may be there really are some real limitations there. And that's where it's very interesting that we see both the Page of Swords and the Knight of Swords. Very quickly, you need to communicate to yourself, to the universe, and to the people around you the importance of this. You need to make it a priority. And we also see the Knight of Pentacles, and so we have 2 knights here. Now, with the amount of conflict here and the amount of court cards here, we wonder if there are other people in the picture. Are there family members? Are there friends? Are there business associates? That could be collaborators that would be helpful, perhaps, or a source of conflict. Or it could be other people all needing a piece of you, so you don't have time. So you have to organize these other people in whatever way you need to. You have to defend your time and your space and your energy to make that happen. Okay, from Billy, do you not use spreads? Yes, I do use spreads. But I feel like very often, okay, my process is like this. Very often, to start a reading, I will use a comprehensive spread like the Celtic Cross. But I find what that does is it shows me the lay of the land and it shows me what the questions are. Then to answer the questions, like I very rarely will use a spread to answer a question unless it's a spread I designed myself. So I use spreads to get the general lay of the land and to do a general reading. To answer questions, I will generally just pull cards, unless I want to specifically create a custom spread for that question. That's typically how I do it. Lynn Collins, starting a new job. Hey, is that a whole new job? Is that a new job within the company you were working with? I know we talked about this before. Very, very interesting development. Okay, so Lynn, starting a new job. Woohoo! Okay, so here's what we got going on for you, my friend. I have pulled 5 cards for you because the first card was the devil. Oh my gosh. So that could have to do with the situation you're getting out of. It could have to do with the situation you're going into. It cautions you. It cautions you to be careful about what you attach to. Be careful about how much information you give. Be careful about this entire process, my friend. Now, the rest of the cards are not major. We have the 4 of Cups here, which does talk about this situation kind of maybe not being to your liking. You know what I'm saying? And in a way, you want to go in with a good attitude, of course. But if we put these 2 cards together, the Devil and the 4 of Cups, you have to be very, very careful about how you present yourself, what you commit to, what information you give. Gird your loins, my friend. Now, the next 3 cards are all 6s. So this is very, very good. You get past this, you get onto this. It's good. 6 is the number of victory. Now we have 3 6s, so which 6 is not here? The 6 that is not here is the 6 of Cups. So that says, because you got to read the card that isn't there, right? That says, don't look to the past, just go forward. You can make money, you can use your brain, you can learn, and you can be very successful. And we see that in all of this. So just move forward. And Zuri, nice to see you here. Zuri so nicely pointed out that I teach classes on spreads and techniques. So I appreciate that. And in fact, on my Card and Craft Academy on Teachable, I actually have a class, a video class you can take anytime that shows my Celtic Cross technique, but also this dialogue technique. So thank you so much for that good plug, Zuri. I appreciate it. Okay, very good. Okay. From Michelle. Hey, Michelle, similar to Lynn, just received a new job offer. Would like some insight. Okay, let's see what we got going on for Lynn. And again, what we are doing here is demonstrating a particular technique of reading groups of cards drawn at random, non-positioned, in a non-linear fashion. Okay, so for all you tarotists out here, this is not just a question and answer, it's also a learning opportunity. So for Michelle, I have pulled, interesting. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more. So, I want even more. Okay, I got 8 cards around this, Michelle. Having to do with this new job offer, because it is still unclear to me, like there's nothing here that says, oh my gosh, yes, take it. But it does look like a really good offer. And how do we know this? And Betty says, is your technique sort of like the gypsy spread? I don't know what that spread is, so I cannot answer that question. So, Michelle, this looks like a good job offer. So what do I have here in my hand? I have 2 3s, which are both really, really good. 3 of Cups and 3 of Wands. And so that really strikes me as this is a good offer that should be considered. I also have this nice little progression with the 2 of Wands and the 3 of Wands, which again says, man, you really got to look at this because it could be good. I also, though, have the 7 of Pentacles and the 9 of Wands. So now if this, we need to figure out, and maybe you have some insight on this, Michelle, is this your current job? Or would this be the job you're going to? This requires a lot of patience and a lot of hard work. It's not necessarily a deterrent, but it's something you need to be aware of. But then, and this is where I start to think you really will consider this job offer, King of Wands, man, that's a great, great job. Ace of Cups, a wonderful something new. And Eight of Cups, the idea of moving forward. And Betty says, rows of 5 cards, will you just let the cards talk? No. This is different. There's maybe some similarity in that it's non-positioned, but no, it's not in rows, it's not linear, it's not specifically 5. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, Michelle. Okay, here we go. Here, I'm just running into you, Cindy, asking for help. I will get there as soon as I see the question, which I know is to follow. Linda says, okay, can I ask about my son? Will he continue to stay clean? He's got an addiction issue. I'm so sorry. I know how painful and difficult that is. Michelle says, interesting, makes a lot of sense. Good. I'm glad that was helpful. Okay. I will handle all the questions we have in this thread. That'll probably be the end of my available time. So let's see what we got. So Linda's son. What can we see about Linda's son struggling with addiction? Oh my gosh, first card is Temperance. So that is so good. You know, and you said, will he stay clean? That means he's clean now. Temperance is a very good card for this. I am very, very encouraged. It suggests he is learning how to find that balance, how to make this work for himself. And I mean, even the word temperance is very helpful here. We like this. Now, this is where in my technique, I would actually want to ask another question. Since that card was so positive, the question I would then ask is, what can you as mom do to help him in this journey toward recovery? The Hanged Man. Now, this is interesting. Okay, and we have these major arcana cards, both cards, major arcana, a big energy here, of course. So the Hanged Man really says 2 things to me. I do interpret the Hanged Man as get thee to a 12-step program. Why? Well, it is card 12. And I always associate the Serenity Prayer with this card. Think about it. Look at this card and think about the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Do you not see that in this card? And so first of all, what this card would say to you as mom is there's not much you can do. You can support him with your prayers, but you have no control here. That would typically be what this card would say. But if you could encourage him to a 12-step program, if you could support him in that, that would be helpful. Okay. Very good. Okay, Cindy says she's got a medical emergency. Check this out. I swallowed a dental drill doing a visit. A miracle that it didn't rip me up, but waiting for more test results. Oh my freaking gosh. I am so sorry. That sounds terrible. And right away, I mean, I don't mean to be litigious, but I am wondering if the dentist would have some liability here. So, swallowed a dental drill. How is this going to turn out for Cindy? Goodness gracious. Okay, fine. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards here. The first card up was the 10 of Pentacles reversed, which is like, oh my gosh, not great. You know, we're not so happy about this. But then we have 3 out of 4 are major arcana. The World, the Hierophant, and the Hermit. Makes me think that this will be fine. This will be well solved. It will all be okay. And the 8 of Cups, which suggests that you will move through this without too much of a problem. And when we look, the Hierophant can be a doctor. So I would think the dentist will take appropriate responsibility, and the medical team that you use to help you here will be fine. It will be fine. I'm so sorry you're going through this, but it will be fine. So Jeannie says, so you take the question, then pull cards until a story appears. Not sure I phrased that correctly, but yeah, basically, yes, you did phrase it correctly, and yes, until I feel like I have enough to work with to come up with a credible answer. And that could be 1 card, it could be 8 cards. Excuse me, and there is something there that is part of an intuitive process that sort of tells you how many cards too. Vicky, nice to see you. Hope you're doing okay there in Australia. We are all praying for you guys there. Elise, back to Elise's question a little while ago. There are definitely colleagues who support and draw energy. I absolutely need to defend my priorities. Also, I love how you grouped and changed the order of the cards. I will definitely do that. Good. Glad you liked it. Lynn says it's a whole new job. Very good. Hey, Linda Armstrong, nice to see you. Suzanne, nice to see you. Linda would love a peek. Okay, very good. And we are coming to the end of our time together. Cindy says, totally terrifying, but I have a piece inside me about this. Yeah, in a couple of different ways. Two kinds of pieces inside you about this. But yeah, I think that it will be fine. It will be fine. Okay, so let's see. A peek for Linda Armstrong. I am coming to the end of my available time, but will answer as many questions as I can before I have to run. And let's see, a peek for Linda. And this is, okay, for technique, this is a general question, just a peek. What do we see for Linda? Okay, I pulled 3 cards because that's what felt right. Here's your peek. The first one, 2 of Swords. You got to be at peace with what you got to be at peace with. Cindy was just talking about being at peace. You got to be at peace with what you got to be at peace with. There may be some decisions you have to make going forward, but remember that Aleister Crowley called this the card of peace, and that's really the way I'm seeing it here for you. But then, with the 8 of Wands, we see some forward motion, maybe some travel, maybe some good things coming in, and you are reminded with the King of Cups that you have a good man in your life and lots of love in your heart. So let the energy move through. All will be well for Linda. Okay. Suzanne, I have a job interview today. What might come from it? Okay. Hang on one second. I feel a sneeze coming. Oh my gosh. Okay, no, I'm better now. Okay. I just had to talk about it, I guess. Okay, Suzanne. I have a job interview today. What might come from it? The Fool. Possibly a whole new journey or a whole new inspiration. That's for you, Suzanne. Again, just one card says it all. Be open to the adventure. Elise loves this technique. That is great. Puck, nice to see you. Okay. Tita from Portugal, nice to see you. Will I get pregnant soon? I've been told that if I get pregnant now, the baby will not resist, that I will have an abortion. Is that true? Man, only you can make that decision. So here's a teachable moment here. Some people don't like to read on these sorts of questions at all. I really don't mind reading on them. But, you know, clearly with something like the decision to terminate a pregnancy, only you can make that decision. That's your decision. And, you know, don't let a reader tell you that will or will not happen. That's up to you. And, you know, and the question, will I get pregnant soon? It's almost, I can't tell if you want to be pregnant, if you don't want to be pregnant, what the deal is there. Remember that you can have control over this. You get to control this to some great extent. So, you know, again, the Hanged Man has come up, and here's a teachable moment. We just read the Hanged Man having to do with an addiction. We're now reading the Hanged Man having to do with this pregnancy question. And the whole thing is you have to take control. If you want to get pregnant, try to get pregnant. I'm sure there will not be a problem. If you don't want to be pregnant, you control that. It's all up to you. Okay, very good. Billy says, I'm anxious to try this method. Never considered it before. Good, good, good. Then my job here is done. Very good. That's what I really love doing, is opening people up to new ideas. Just handling a couple of more questions before I say goodbye. For my good friend Brenda Nicholas, what do I see coming up for you? Okay. I feel the need to pull a bunch of cards here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards for Brenda. So, Brenda, there's so much here. You've been through so much. And there is so much here that speaks to the things that you would have preferred not to deal with or would be preferring not to deal with. 4 of Cups, the Wheel of Fortune, which can be good luck, but, dealing with the ups and downs of life. Death having to do with major changes in the past and in the future. The Devil having to do with the things you might be attached to. Strength reversed having to do with the things that frustrate you. So you've dealt with a lot of difficulty, and there still is a lot of difficulty, but here's what you need to know. Ace of Swords. There are new beginnings here. You are smart, you are capable, you are the haver of wonderful ideas, and this year you're going to set some of those ideas into motion. Queen of Pentacles, with new business possibilities. King of Swords, becoming a leader, maybe even a great guy in your life. And so out of the ashes come wonderful things for you, Brenda, and that's what this year is about. Okay, very good. Betty, when you read it sounds so poetic. I'll never get there, I'm afraid. So Betty, you got to find your own style, but a lot of it is a function of practice. I've been doing this day in and day out, every single day for years and years and years and years. I studied for 8 years before I went professional. I've been professional for 25 years. So there's that. Okay, I am coming to the end. Joanne Matthew, good to see you. If you have a quick question, I'll get to it, and that will be my last question. So please do go ahead and ask. What I'm doing is demonstrating a reading technique. Kristen, I'm interviewing for a job. What can I do to get the edge? What a great question. Okay, very good. I pulled 4 cards. So 2 of Swords, listen as much as you speak. 8 of Wands, speak clearly and share information. King of Cups, show that you are a leader and be warm. 8 of Pentacles, show that you are willing to learn, but also show your past experience. Okay, very good. And Kimberly, any messages from Spirit? This is my penultimate question today. For Kimberly, hey Kimberly, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods next weekend. Tell your friends, see if anyone wants a house call, a party. I still have some time. Would love to do some readings. Okay, very good. Kimberly. Messages from Spirit for Kimberly. Okay, my friend. The Tower. You have been through a lot, but remember that the lightning that strikes the tower down is enlightening. Open yourself to enlightenment. 10 of Pentacles reversed. There have been some things not going your way, but it is okay because look at these final 3 cards. 8 of Pentacles, you are learning, you are growing, you are building your career, you are building your finances. Literally, the Page of Cups I often interpret as a message of love from your loved ones in spirit. So your angels are with you, my friend. They are with you. And with this card, the Lovers, this could be speaking to positive things in your love life, but also you showing up for yourself in a positive way. Okay, and my final reading for today to my good friend Joanne. What's up for Joanne's future? Okay. So, you're freaking awesome, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. And we have 2 aces in here. Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Wands, new possibilities, new projects, maybe some new money, or maybe you'll just be doing a lot of baking and a lot of quilting. But one way or the other, new projects. It also looks with 2 of Cups and the 10 of Cups that you may be gathering with friends or having a visit with a family member. With the Hanged Man, we know that there's always stuff beyond your control that you would prefer not to happen, that does happen. You'll just have to deal with it. Remember, if you cannot change your circumstances, you have to change your attitude. And the 9 of Cups, some wishes that will be fulfilled. Now, one more teachable moment before I say goodbye. Did you guys notice that the Hanged Man showed up 3 times here today? And each time we interpreted it differently. Why? Because it was a different reading. The more you know about each card, the more information you have to give. So, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to try to be popping on more frequently with these tarot tips. If you have not read the blog post, it is available right now on my website, ChristianaGaudette.com, so check that out. Make sure you check out my live webinar on YouTube on Sunday. And if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area, make sure you come to our meetup Sunday afternoon, and please reach out for readings, house parties, mentorship opportunities. I will be in Tampa for 4 days. Would love to be able to sit with you. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will look forward to seeing you again. Take good care.